This
And I
conference will now be recorded.
got here really early. We got some pre-class education in, and that was a lot of fun too. So let me get back here. Let's see. Let's share screen and see if we can find the right screen. What'd y'all come here to learn today? How to work with those crazy sellers, right? And how to get that listing. Okay, so I think we are recording. Let me see if I can make that bigger than what it is right now. And let's try this one. Where did it go? Surely I didn't put it on Edge. No. Okay, where is that little rascal?
If you right click that, will it go full size?
Let's see. It's not.
Oh.
Let me
Pop out. Look at those lower right. Pop out. That's it. Getting close.
Oh, you know what? It's not even sharing the right thing now. Let's see here. Let me go back here. And share something else. Boy, yeah, it's getting a mess here. I may just have to go back to the beginning here. All right. So I'm not gonna, there it is. And now I want to enlarge this one. There it is. All right. So what I want to share with you today is one piece of the seller conversion process. And yet I'm going to give you resources that cover the entire process. But just in the interest of being able to give this particular subject its due and not have to rush through it, but be able to go deep on it, we're going to pull out one segment of the listing conversion process, which is what you say and do at the kitchen table. That is, I mean, the first and most important task in getting listings is to get the appointment, right? Even now, NAR statistics show that sellers will work 69% of the time with the first agent they meet. Okay, so getting the appointment is the most important thing. We talked about that on coaching call last Thursday morning. If you were not part of that, it's recorded. It's already on our YouTube channel. 33 ways to get listing appointments. So this is the natural follow-up to that. Once you get the appointment and you show up at the kitchen table, what do you say that instills confidence in the sellers that you're the right person for the job? Okay, so that's what we're going to zero in on here. And what I'm going to do is just share with you in chronological order how this works. And then don't feel pressure to write all this down. I'm going to reference some other documents as we go through the class this morning, but I'm going to make all of these available to you. Michael, on Workplace, can I post attachments? So I could just put them all in Workplace after class today. Okay, so I'll do that. So this will, everything you see on the screen today will be made available to you, okay? So the first thing I say here is enter information onto the homeowner and property profile as the conversation progresses. That is a form, which I'm going to share with you. It's one of the additional documents where you list the legal names of all the sellers, the property address, their anticipated move date, their go on the market date, the day of trash pickup, all the details of the home, including the room measurements. Have you ever gone and taken a listing and the next day you're dutifully trying to put it in the MLS and you realize you don't have the room measurements, right? So what do? Experienced agents in that situation. See if it's had a previous listing. That's exactly right. If you can take them from someone else's previous listing. Yeah, well, exactly. But the embarrassing thing is to have to go back and take measurements, right? So maybe you want to sneak in with the photographer or something like that and get your measurements. But this is, if the homeowner profile is just a prompter for you to get all that information while you're there. And as you go through this Q&A session, you're going to be filling out that profile. What do they most like about the home? That's important, right? Writing a description. What do they most like about the neighborhood? What significant amenities have they installed or upgrades have they put in the home? All this stuff is prompted for you to ask and record that information. One more comment I'm going to make before we actually get into the nitty-gritty. You will see that this is a conversation, not a presentation. People always talk about listing presentation. And when I hear that, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. Because who wants to be sold? A presentation is a sales presentation, right? Who wants to be sold? Nobody. I can promise you these sellers, they're nervous about meeting with you because they think you're going to come in and do a presentation. And they don't want that. They don't want some high pressure salesperson coming in saying, I'm the best agent. I work for the best company. I got the best marketing plan. Use me. What they want is somebody's going to come in and care about them and say, tell me what you're trying to accomplish. What time frame are you looking at? Have you done any research at this point about the current value of your home? Somebody who's going to come in and ask questions to discover what their needs and desires are, and then demonstrate that you are in a position to help them accomplish their goals. That's what they're looking for. So this is very much conversation, not presentation. A lot of Q&A, you asking the questions, them providing the answers. So here we go. Hey, thank you for inviting me into your home. Did you get a chance to review the information that I sent you? Did you send them? You sent them a kitchen table conversation information sheet. And on that, it could also have been a seller's disclosure form. So they get a chance to start working on that. You could even have already sent them a copy of the listing agreement. So they have a chance to review that. You know what else is helpful to send them? And this is hardly ever done. A copy of the actual 1-to-4 sale contract. Now you haven't even listed the property yet, but what's likely going to happen when you sit down at the kitchen table is that they're going to start asking you questions that are answered in the 1-to-4 sale contract. You know, even things about option period or what goes and what stays. You know, what about our fireplace screen? Okay, what about our new security system? And if you've given them an opportunity to review these documents in advance, you've already answered a lot of their questions and concerns, and you've positioned yourself as a professional. Okay, did it give you a better sense of who I am and my experience in helping people like you sell their home? So what that's referring to is your personal brochure. That was part of this pre-listing meeting conversation package that you sent over to them. And the way I liked to do that was I would send a little note with it, and I would say, hey, please review this information prior to our conversation on, Thursday evening at 7. You'll see I've included a personal brochure sharing a little bit of my qualifications to help sell your home. I'm sharing it with you now so that when we get together on Thursday, the conversation can be all about you and your home and your needs. So again, you're positioning everything that you share with them as being for their benefit. Okay, so now let's get into the conversation. Hey, can you tell me again what's prompting your move? Okay. What are possible move motives? Job transfer. Divorce. Bigger place.
Empty nesters.
Yep, empty nesters, moving down, growing family, moving up, got a big promotion, showing out, all kinds of stuff. We always want to live on the lake. It could be anything But why is it important that you understand what's prompting the move?
It affects
Well, you
the
know,
timeline.
timeline.
It affects timeline.
Yeah, Commission. If it's a relocation.
Oh, well, that's a very good point. Yeah, if you have to work with a Cardis or something, just realize you're working for less than 30% of what you would normally get. Yes. It also speaks, and this is very important, to motivation. The ideal scenario is they're being transferred. Why? Because they're being transferred, right? They got to sell, right? The company has said you're moving, as opposed to, well, we've just been thinking about maybe downsizing a little bit, but we got to find the right place. And, we've been driving around for 6 months through neighborhoods and haven't found anything. Oh gosh. Okay. So we're looking to motivation, and timeline, as you said. So when do you need to be in your new home? Have you been through the home selling process before? Some of this feels like just a little chit chat, a little rapport building, but every one of these questions is very important, particularly this one. Have you been through the home selling process before? If no, they said, no, it's our first house we ever owned. Yeah, we're selling it. Kids grew up here. Well, then what questions do you have about the process? Because they haven't been through it. If yes, then you want to ask several questions. First of all, what was the best part of that experience? The last time you sold a home, what went really well? Why are you asking that question?
To know their expectations.
Yes. Y'all are being very positive. That's
To know what you can do better.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to know what they liked, what went well, so that you can do that. But you're also setting yourself up for the next question. What went wrong? What didn't go well? But you don't want to come across as negative. Never. So if you have to ask what could be a negative question, you always want it to be preceded by a positive question. So what went well about that experience? And then once they respond to that, was there anything frustrating or disappointing about that experience? Did anything go not quite according to your expectations? Okay, ask them that. What are some things they could possibly say here? Yep, they sold, but they sold for less than what they were expecting. Okay, why is that helpful to you? Just to take that little piece of information.
You can prepare them for what may or may not happen.
Mm-hmm. Why didn't they get as much as they expected?
It was too high.
Maybe it was too high. Maybe they had not been properly counseled on the true market value of their home. What is the definition of market value?
That's all. Whatever it's willing.
To pay.
Yeah, what an unpressured buyer is willing to pay. In other words, this is what the home is going to sell for. When I say research has shown market value is at 280, that means we're expecting this house to sell for 280. Now we can list at 290, at 298, but you can bet in most situations it's going to be negotiated down to 280, right? We may get an offer at 240 or 260, but guess what? It's going to be negotiated up to 280, because if they don't want it, somebody else will at 280, because research has shown that is what buyers are willing to pay for this home in this market right now. Okay, that's what market value means. So you want to find out what experiences they've had and then go deeper. A good rule of thumb, you've probably heard this before, is go 3 deep. Anytime you get an answer, follow up with another question. Follow up with another question, trying to get to the root of it, of why that frustration developed. What's another objection they could have had, or a frustration with their previous selling experience? Thank you. Ding, 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 ding. This is the number one complaint you're going to get from buyers or sellers, is that my agent never stayed in touch with me. We didn't know what was going on. The sign just sat there in the front yard. We would call the agent every 2 or 3 weeks and have to hound them to ever get any kind of response. Okay, so communication. So if that's an issue, what kind of follow-up questions do you want to ask? Going 3 deep. If we never heard from our agent, we didn't know what was going on. What would be your next question?
How often would you like to hear from them?
There you go. So what we want to try to uncover is what they really wanted.
Right, what's the best way to communicate with you?
So,
Text or
yes.
calls or,
Yeah, so tell me what type of communication flow you would have preferred. Okay? Well, at least a weekly check-in call. Well, that's good to know, isn't it? Right. Well, and there's, again, you go in 3D. Well, if there are showings prior to the weekly check-in call, 3 or 4 days in, do you want to hear the buyer feedback immediately? Or would you prefer that I share that all with you in one weekly call? And the answers could be different. Some people want to know everything immediately, and others, no, just once a week, right? Don't bother me every day. I hired you to sell the house. You sell the house. Just kind of keep me in the loop once a week about what's going on. Okay? By the way, what if they say, yeah, I want same-day feedback on buyer showings? What's one little expectation you might want to set?
That's not realistic.
Right. We don't always get it same day. And this is a very important piece that sellers want to know about. You need to share with them your commitment and what's going to be happening to get that buyer feedback. Because the truth is, it's not often provided. And so you want to have some dialogue around that. Well, let me just assure you that every time that there is a showing of your home, I'm going to make every effort to get feedback and to get it as quickly as possible. In fact, I set it up where there's automatically an email going out to the showing agent within an hour of the showing with being completed. And if they don't respond to that, they're going to get another one the next morning and another one the next evening. And I'll be calling them. If I don't get it same day, I'll be calling them the next morning myself to prompt that agent to provide the feedback. And in my history, I've been successful about, put in a number, 80% of the time in gathering that feedback. But I just want you to be aware that 100% of the time, I'm going to be putting on a full court press to get you that feedback. Okay? So just address these issues up front. Now let's talk about selling this home. We talk about their past experience, expectations, what worked, what didn't. Let's talk about selling this home. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being absolutely amazing, is there anything we could do to make this a great experience for you? What are some possible answers? Oh, very good. That's right. So we don't want people tramping through our house 24/7. In fact, there are certain times and dates when we don't want people in the house at all. You know, my husband's a night shift worker, and we really can't have anybody in the house until after 2 p.m. because that's when he's sleeping. That's important, right? Michael, what else could they say?
Well, again, with the communication.
Yes.
Keep in touch with us, keep us informed.
That's exactly right. So we talked about timing and flow of communication. What is another communication question you probably want to ask at this point? Yes, that's exactly right. Is there a preferred means of communication? Would you prefer a phone call, a text message, an email? Find out, because the answers are going to be different. And people have very strong opinions about these things, right? Most millennials do not want a phone call. You're going to want a quick text. But you can't presume, because when you say most, that doesn't mean all. So you do have to ask the question. Okay? All right. Now, next, you need to learn to say this thing because it doesn't come naturally. We already just said, what would make it a 10 experience for you? Okay? And they're going to answer, well, stay in communication with me, or, block out our sleeping times, or don't you dare host open houses. We don't want any open house. They're going to say something, okay? And of course, you always want to go 3 deep on what they say so you really, really understand it, okay? Now, here's the part that you're going to have to train yourself to say, okay? Well, in addition to that, and I'll be happy to block those showing times so that your husband's sleep is not disturbed. Be assured, I've heard you, I've made note of that, we're going to take care of that. But in addition to that, is there anything that we could do to make this a 10 plus experience for you? Is there anything else? What might they say?
Sell for over listing price.
Yeah, give me the best possible price, okay? So, and then you would respond to that. Absolutely. In fact, I've already done my homework on the current market value of your home. It's within a fairly narrow range. We can't pinpoint to the dollar, but we know it's going to be somewhere 475 to 482, somewhere in there based upon past experience. And you can be assured, using my marketing strategy, that we're going to expose your home to every buyer in the market who's looking for a home like yours. So we're not going to miss anybody. And then with my proven negotiation strategy, once we get an offer, once we get engaged, I'm going to do everything possible to maximize the value of the negotiated sale price. So I hear you loud and clear. This is what I do professionally, and I'm going to put all those skills and experience to work for you to get you the best possible sale price. So we're acknowledging their issue and then providing reassurance that we can deliver on it. But we've gone too deep. We're going to go one more. Well, in addition to blocking certain showing times and getting you the most value for your home, is there anything else that we could do to make this a 10 plus experience for you? Right? I mean, you're really uncovering stuff, aren't you? What could be a possible 10 plus? Speed. Okay, that could be one right there. Yeah, I don't want to do any repairs. We need to sell this as is. Could we do that? We absolutely can do that. But I would go a little bit deeper on it. Okay, we'll come right back to that one. Are there any particular repairs that you're aware of now that a buyer is going to want to need to be made? Right. That could be there's that big crack in the slab, or the hot water heater been dripping water from the attic, for the last 6 months, and there's this black stuff growing on the wall. You want to go 3 deep on whatever that concern is. Okay. And yes, what was yours?
Sell it quickly.
Yeah, sell it quickly. Okay. So how would you respond to a sell it quickly?
If we price it right, it will sell.
So it will sell. We can assure that. Can we assure this? So you want to be real careful with timing questions. That is a legitimate concern, but satisfaction is a result of expectations versus reality, and you want to set expectations here. You say, with my marketing program, I can assure you that every potential buyer is going to see your home, and we are going to sell your home. The one thing I cannot control is the timing. And by the way, a quick sale can sometimes be the worst thing for your relationship with the seller, even if they say they want that. And I will tell you, the worst relationship breakdowns I've had with sellers have been when the first person who saw the home bought it and paid full price. That's exactly right. They're saying you priced it too low, right? You just want a quick commission. And the other thing, you didn't earn it. It was too easy. You didn't work hard enough for this, right? We thought this was a 30, 45-day process. You sold it the very first day. So I've had them try to renegotiate the commission because I sold it too fast, even though they wanted to sell it fast. Okay. So you want to set this expectation that you do not control the timing. And I would say, I've had listings very much like yours that sold to the first person who sold it, offered full price. Sometimes it can take 30, 45 days. Now, what the MLS is telling us right now is that homes like yours are selling in an average of 21 days, going under contract in 21 days, and then add another 30 days or so until closing. But remember, that's an average. And to get to 21, you've got some 10s and you've got some 30s. You've got some 1s and you've got some 40s. And I don't control when it happens in there. I just control that it is going to happen, because we're going to price it right. And we're going to show it beautifully.
Let's say their house is on the market and the next day rates go down. Well, they're probably going to move faster then.
Yes.
So it has nothing to do with your commission or how hard you work.
Yes. Yeah. Good point. Michael?
And sometimes I'll throw in trying to, explain to them at this point the relationship between price and speed
Yes,
on the market. If they're looking to overprice and get
there we go.
X, it will take longer.
Yes, there are some factors which impact timing. Marketing is one, making sure it's fully exposed, but second is price. So we're going to have a pricing discussion a little bit later, and that can feed in. But yes, that's a very, very good point. If they want a quick sale, price is going to be a key issue in driving that. So do you have any specific concerns about the home selling process that I should be aware of? Now, it may have already come out in previous frustrating experiences or something, but now you really want to poke them a little bit, maybe even prompt them a little bit. Well, what about security? Are you concerned about perhaps anything being taken from the home during the showing process? Have you thought through that? Are you concerned about privacy in your home? Is that a concern? What about how I'm going to market your home? Negotiations, your home condition, the timing of the sale. So you're not just throwing this list at them, but in a conversational way, you're raising issues that perhaps they haven't thought about yet, and then addressing those if they do have any particular concerns. And by the way, under home condition, you could hear any number of things. I've had more than one seller, the woman typically, be very embarrassed about the windows, that they're dirty, that you can't see through the windows. Or in Houston, sometimes we get that green moldy film on them, right? But she doesn't have the physical ability to clean all the windows, and she doesn't know who to ask for help. So this is it's a good exposure to say, yeah, these windows are just a mess. And then it gives you an opportunity to say, well, you know what, we're going to talk about my marketing program in a few minutes, but one of my commitments to you is that I'm willing to invest my own money up front to assure that your home shows beautifully and sells quickly. And if you have a concern about the windows, I'll be glad to take care of that for you. Would that be okay? Would it be all right if I sent out my window cleaning service and they cleaned all these windows prior to us having the home photographed at my expense? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
What are they going to say? You're likely to get a big slobbery kiss, right? Sign? Yes.
So when you do this, does it go in that section of the representation agreement for reimbursable expenses, or do you just eat it?
I eat it. Yeah, I make an internal budgetary calculation based upon the listing value of the home that I'm going to be willing to invest a certain number of dollars to get it in show condition. And that's typically not more than $200 or $300. Okay, Ralph?
Following along the same thinking, what if you do know that there are some repairs that need to be done?
Yes.
And they are incapable of coming up front with it?
So you have options there, and there are some wonderful companies out there. Some of them, national companies, some of them just local vendor partners who can make those repairs in advance, and they're willing to take payment at closing. I've done that with pool vendors when there were frogs in the pool and green slime, and they had to come out and make it sparkle again, and they were willing to take payment at closing. I've done it with plumbers. I've done it with roofers. There are even companies that will come in and completely remodel the home and take payment at closing.
Curbio.
So Curbio, I was trying to think who is the national one. Curbio is the one that will do that. I mean, they'll spend. Yeah, Kevin, he's a good source of info. Yes.
You can even just go and get price quotes and disclose it with the listing of price quotes and provide that to the future buyers.
Say that again, please.
You could even just get a price quote and just say,
Yes.
hey, we are aware of this. We've already gotten price quotes. So that the buyer knows what they're.
Yeah, we're aware there's a sag in the ceiling. We've already had a roofer come out and inspect. This is the issue. This is what it's going to take to get it repaired. So absolutely. So you can have some options for them there. Get some quotes, get it fixed with payment at closing, or just full disclosure on the seller's disclosure of what the existing issues are. Okay, but just recognize that some issues will prevent a sale of the home if financing is involved. You know, roof issues, slab issues, those could sabotage a sale if there's.
Cosmetic things aren't a big deal.
Cosmetics are not a big deal. That's exactly a good way to look at it. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about marketing your home. I've already hinted at it several times about what I'm going to do, but let's go through the plan here. I have a robust marketing plan that I'll share with you in just a moment. But first, do you have any specific ideas about how you want or don't want your home marketed? This may seem redundant, but I'm trying to get you to ask enough questions to expose any landmines. You don't want them to have some seething frustration throughout the process because you're doing certain things a certain way that irritate them. So you give them a chance to share something. And I'll tell you, in my experience, if they have a marketing concern, it is typically about open houses. Either they want them and they want you holding one every weekend, every Saturday and every Sunday, or they don't want them at all. Typically, that is a hot button issue, open houses. So be prepared to address that, okay? All right, great. Well, then let me share with you what I do to assure that every prospective buyer looking for a home like yours will see your home and see it presented beautifully. That is a phrase that rolls off my tongue because I've said it 10,000 times. And I've found it to be very powerful. Let me share with you what I do to assure that every prospective buyer for a home like yours is going to see your home and see it presented beautifully. That is such a reassuring comment to sellers, right? Because they want to know that their home is not just going to be advertised on the EXP website or the yard sign in the front yard, right? They know that's going to happen. But what other perhaps unspoken concerns do they have?
What it looks like and how the pictures are.
Yes, how it's presented, right? You've seen the photos that I've taken with the agent's iPhone. You've seen those things, right? Terrible photography, toilet lid up, can of roach spray right there on the counter. I mean, we've all seen it. We've seen it, okay? So you're going to talk about. Oh yes. Yeah. Hi. So you're going to talk about that, about your marketing plan. So every agent will see it. So by the way, they want to make sure it's going to be on Trulia, that it's going to be on Zillow, that it's going to be on Realtor.com. And this is where you can go in, and I do in my marketing package, pull that little syndication chart from HAR. And EXP, I think, has one too, that just shows all the different websites that this listing is going to. You're just assuring them, because you know what? The Coldwell Banker agent who was there last night said, guess what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to put it on Zillow, right? I'm going to put it on Realtor.com. I'm even going to put it on Trulia, and I'm not going to charge you anything extra for that. And sellers are often impressed by that. So you need to say, I divide my marketing plan into two sections: what every good realtor does and what only I do. And in that, what every good realtor does, yes, we're going to put it on every website. And you know what? I'm not staying up all night putting those on all these websites. When I put it into HAR, the MLS in our area, they automatically syndicate it out to every real estate site in the country. That happens automatically. And now they're thinking, well, that Coldwell Banker agent made it sound like they were going to be up all night putting it on websites, and you're saying it happens to every listing? Yeah. So tell the truth, okay? Be honest. It's going out to all these places automatically. But here's what I do that not every realtor does. I hire a professional photographer. And not just any, there's probably 200 real estate photographers in our market area. I've worked with many of them myself. And in my office, I've networked with the other real estate agents. And by experience, I have identified the best real estate photographer in the market. And by the way, they don't just take 18 photographs. We're going to take 32. They're not just digital photographs, they're HDR. And by the way, I'm also going to have a helicopter fly through your house and shoot a nice little video. Okay? Whatever it is you're doing, you need to present it as special, right? Not everybody does this. Now, Miriam, if we're in Carlton Woods, a lot more realtors would be hiring helicopters to fly through your house, right? But in this middle price range where we're at right now, I'm the only realtor I know that spends a luxury home type budget to market my sellers' homes, right? I'm going to make your home look like it's in Carlton. I shouldn't say Carlton Woods, but that's where I went last night for the Super Bowl party. It was impressive. Okay. So then present your, what I call my total exposure marketing plan. And when I originally drafted, it was like an 18-point. And then when I started selling in the senior adult communities, it turned into a 13-point because I literally had to make the font bigger, and all my points wouldn't fit, right? And those are details. You think about it, right? And that's legit. And I that was really hit home to me when I was living in the senior adult community. And my competition who lived in the neighborhood was sending out postcards. They weren't jumbo with oversized font. They were the tiniest postcards you could buy in the tiniest font.
Oh,
Nobody in the neighborhood could even read them. Thank you, Miriam. That's exactly what I thought. So when I redid my materials, I reduced the amount of the content and increased the font size. Okay. So the total exposure marketing plan, this is one of those items that you would have included in your pre-listing package so they could see it in advance, what every good realtor does and what only I do. Okay. And you may not be the only one doing that, but you can certainly, I'm the only one that I know that does all of these things for my sellers. Okay. Once you go through it, so how do you feel about this plan? Okay, get their feedback. They may not be as impressed with it as you are, or maybe they knew a realtor, in Seattle who did this thing and it wasn't on your list. Okay. Find out. So ask them, is there anything you would like me to add, subtract, or modify? They're in complete control. And you want to say this, use this language throughout your conversation. I'm here to serve you. And I'm going to present you with lots of ideas and opportunities that perhaps you've never thought of. But at the end of the day, once you know all your options, you're in control. You're in control, and I'm here to serve you. Now, let me ask you a few questions about your home so that I can describe it accurately in the listing description. And this is where you've got your little homeowner profile. You're starting to take notes, and I'll share that with you before we wrap up. What improvements have you made to the home during the time you've lived here? What do you feel are the best features of this home? By the way, you don't want them to say the jungle mural in the master bedroom.
Sounds expensive.
But that was, I have been in that home. I was trying to list that home, and that's exactly what the seller said. We spend a fortune on these murals. And it was kind of impressive. It was kind of like going to a resort. They had the jungle waterfall. It would have been cool if it had been a hotel. It wasn't cool for your own house. But they even had all the columns in the house. They had painted vines going up the columns. I mean, it was, you're going to see it all, okay? So what do you feel are the best features? What do you feel are the best features of this home's location and the neighborhood? The 3 L's of real estate: location, location, location. This can be extremely helpful if there's nothing special about the home. or if it's got some things that are going to be knocks against it. But if it's got a park across the street that's beautiful, if there are hiking trails that go through there, if it's in the best school district, just think through those things that can become your talking points, what you want to emphasize in your marketing. And then here you go, Ralph. Are there any repairs or improvements you feel need to be made prior to putting your home on the market? And this is when they'll come out with some stuff that they think is a concern or not. And again, it might be something, well, the whole house needs to be touch-up painted, but we can't do that anymore. I don't have time to do that, or whatever it is. And this is when you can come in with the same dialogue. Well, one of the things that sets me apart is my commitment to investing my own money up front to ensure that your home shows beautifully and sells quickly. Would it be okay if I sent my handyman over here for about 4 hours on Saturday to do that touch-up painting for you? Do you already have the paint? Would you be able to get it, before Saturday? Would it be okay if I sent him over at my expense to take care of that for you? Okay. By the way, you're not going to send the handyman, right, and refresh the yard and clean the windows and have the gutters all cleaned out. You're not going to do all these things, right? You're going to pick the one that means the most to the seller. Because they might be able to clean out their own gutters, or they might be able to do the touch-up painting. Once you get the list of what needs to be done to put the home in show condition, then you're going to contribute. You're not taking full responsibility, but you're going to show that this is a partnership. And that's been the one thing that probably earned me more loyal sellers than anything else, was my willingness to invest $200 or $300. Right? To us, it's a small amount in the scheme of things, but to them, it's incredible. Very, very powerful. And I'll tell you, just add one other thing to your list that you might want to spend $200 or $300 on, and that would be a professional appraisal measurement. If there's any doubt about the actual square footage of the home, and is there ever any doubt? Quite often there is. Perhaps it's a build home from 6 years ago, and they have the builder's floor plan that says it was 3,285 square feet, but you go into the appraisal district and they say it's 3,150, but the actual seller that they bought it from said it was 3,300. So what do they put in the MLS? They want to put 3,300, right? And then you just put in there 3,300 per seller. But you don't sleep well at night, do you?
Yeah.
And you shouldn't. Because if the buyer moves in and then they decide to measure and it's 3,150, guess who's getting sued? Everybody. Everybody's getting sued. When square footage is worth $300 a square foot, and we shorted them by 150, we're talking about real money here. So offer, what? Let's clear this up. We want to get it right. Would it be okay if I sent out my appraiser at my expense to professionally measure your home, and that report will be accepted as authoritative by anybody who needs to know what the actual square footage is? That is an actual appraisal measurement is more authoritative than a builder floor plan. Did you know that? Than anything else. That is the standard of highest authority, and you can actually get them done for around $200. Unless it's just 5,000 or 6,000 square foot home, a couple $100. So, and by the way, if you're able to pick up an extra 50 square foot at $300 a square foot, we just raised the price 15 grand. Right? Have you demonstrated your value? So just consider that. And what if it comes back less? What if you lose 50 square feet? Woo. What have we saved in legal fees? Right? We probably just saved ourselves $50,000 in legal fees and penalties and the ultimate reduction in refund in the price of the home. Okay. So it's good to never run from the truth. So let me share with you. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's talk about pricing. So we talked about their concerns. You see the flow here. Good, bad, what would make a great experience, what they've liked, what they didn't like. We've talked about marketing the home, what you're going to do, any modifications they want to make. So now it's natural that we would move into a pricing discussion. Have you done any research on your own to try to determine your home's current market value? Now that is a controversial question, and many listing agents would not ask something like that for good reason. Let's say the home is worth 300, but they come back and say, yeah, it's worth 350. That's what our neighbor got down the street last week. That's a difficult situation because now they've kind of committed themselves emotionally to 350 and you drew it out of them. So now they're going to feel from an ego perspective that they need to defend that 350. So it's a little bit of a controversial question. I still recommend that you ask it. Because you're still going to, you have the facts, right? You have the actual data to show true market value. But if you come in and you show them that the true market value is 300 without asking that question, you know what they're thinking in the back of their mind? She doesn't know what she's doing.
You're low.
You're low. You're trying to lowball this. You just want a quick sale because I know for a fact my neighbor got 350 last week. That's why you want to expose this. That's why I put the question in there, even though you could argue it both ways. If they have a figure in their mind, I want to know it so that I can educate them. Okay? So once you've heard, let's say they say 350 for whatever reason, okay? You don't argue with that. You don't come back. You just say, hey, now let me share with you the data on every home similar to yours in your neighborhood that's been on the market in the last 6 months. So you're starting the education process here. You're showing them the comps. And this is not a valuation class, but I want you to pay close attention to the words in that statement. Every home, we didn't leave any out, that are similar to yours. Where? In your neighborhood. Please don't be the agent. And HAR facilitates this, where you can just do a radius search, pull every 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, 15 to 1,800 square feet in a 2-mile radius. You could have homes back to back. They could share a backyard fence and be identical floor plans, built the same year, the same amenities, and have a difference in value of $50,000. Condition, amenities, and neighborhood. One might be in the fancy do, and one might be in the going to hell in a handbasket, right? Could be. So you want to keep your comps whenever possible to the actual neighborhood. Don't do a geographic proximity. Okay.
Even like just the curb appeal, the TLC.
Yes.
Just the details that the owner has put into that home.
Yes, correct.
It's very readily apparent, and even if a buyer cannot put a finger on it, the appeal of the home is just greater.
So that's
lesser.
So let's talk about that for just a moment. Again, this is not a pricing or evaluation class, but this is going to come up, and this is real life. You're going to come across this. So you're talking about pricing the home here, and the value's 300, and they say, but we just remodeled the kitchen and bathrooms and put granite countertops and new cabinets everywhere. So we need that additional 40,000. We need to add that to the 300, and we need to get 340. What's your response to that?
It's pretty positive at the moment.
You like that? You think we can get 340? Maybe we can.
I think those features will help it sell quicker
Okay.
In the market. But, sellers don't always get 100% of their investment back for
Yes.
improvements. And we'll let the market determine, but that's great to hear.
Yes. What you need to determine is what is the neighborhood standard, right? This could be a neighborhood of 30-year-old homes, and 80% of them have already been upgraded with new cabinets and granite countertops. The Formica is gone. So by you doing this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, well done, by the way, because now we can actually get market value for your home. Now we can get you the 300. You brought your home up to community standard. If you hadn't done that, we'd probably be looking at 250 or 260. So sometimes an improvement will add value, that it is a plus over what other unimproved comps would be, and other times it just allows you to get the comp price. So you have to be aware. This is why you have to study the photos of your comps. You're not just pulling numbers. Well, there looks like everything's selling for 125 a square foot, and I've got 2,500, and do the math. Okay, no. You have to go into this home, your home that you're potentially listing. You do a walkthrough before you ever sit down at the kitchen table. And you're not only trying to build rapport, that's part of it, but you're also assessing amenities and conditions in comparison to community standard. Because that's going to determine whether or not the raw numbers that you put together need to be adjusted up, down, or stay the same. Make sense? Okay. So based upon this information that you've shared with them, what do you think is the current market value of your home? So now you're giving them a chance to kind of back off what they originally said, or perhaps it's reinforced. But you're giving them a chance to interact with it so that you don't get blindsided by an unspoken conviction or opinion that they have formed. If you agree with what they say, well, gosh, Frank, based upon what you're showing us, it looks like we ought to be at 300. Then you say, you know what? That's exactly the same conclusion I came to. 300, I think that's our number, okay? If you don't agree, say they're stuck on 340, well, can you tell me how you came to that conclusion? Anytime that you feel you're in disagreement with somebody else, here's just a general life rule that will help you navigate that. Stay into curiosity. Don't argue with them. Well, didn't you just see the numbers I showed you? It's 300. No, it's just, no, be curious. Well, can you tell me how you came to that conclusion? What data are you seeing that justifies a 340? Because you may have missed something. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe there's treasure buried in the basement. We don't know. Let's ask. If they want to price high, then you say, again, that's fine, right? I'm just the consultant. You're the decision maker. If you want to price high, knowing that we're at 300, you want to go at 340, okay, that's fine. We can never predict precisely what someone may be willing to pay for your home. Is that true? Right? The comps may say 300, but they just sold their California home for 900, and doggone it, they want to be in this neighborhood. And it may be the only home on the market. So they got cash. Doesn't have to appraise. They're going to pay it. That could happen. However, this is to Michael's point. If we're priced too aggressively, in other words, priced too high, we'll know pretty soon, because we won't get the showing activity that we're hoping for, or we'll get showings but no offers. Could that happen? Yeah, the other agents will show it as leverage to sell the other home. They'll say, look, this one's at 340, but this one down the street's 300, same home. We need to put an offer on the 300. So if you're not getting showings, or you're getting showings but no offers, quite often it's a price issue. But you assure them, we're going to monitor both very carefully, amount of showings and corresponding offers. And then we will respond to market feedback accordingly, right? Right? Because you want to sell your home, right? That's why I'm here. I'm going to help you sell your home. And if we have adopted a strategy that's not going to result in you selling your home, then we'll adjust accordingly. Okay, this is leadership, but covered in feathers and marshmallow cream. Okay, it's soft. You're not telling them what to do. You're sharing with them what you as a team are going to do. We're going to be responsive to market feedback. And yes, Tom is right. If they're disappointed at what the market's saying, it's not you. You never want to own these numbers. This is what the market is telling us. This is what the market will bear right now. This is the feedback we're getting from the market.
If they say no, we want this number, we could care less for the market feedback.
Yes.
We want to help our neighborhood to establish a new price.
Yes.
Then would you consider?
So, Ann, my role as your professional representative is to consult you on your possible courses of action and the likely consequences of each. Now, if we decide to go in at 340, I'm happy to help you do that. I want you to know that. I'm happy to list at 340. I just want you to understand that the consequences of that is we're probably not going to get a lot of showings. Your home's probably going to be on the market quite a while. And at some point, we're probably going to have another discussion about a price adjustment. But I'm happy to do that because who knows? And I say this, we might get some kooky California buyer in here. You know, they don't even understand. They're unrepresented, so they don't know values, and they're willing to pay 340. I can't say that won't happen. So if you want to try it, let's go for it. Okay? As long as I have been truthful with her, I didn't say I could get 340. Right? I told her the truth. But if she wants to do it, having heard that, I'm going to help her do it.
Usually, how long do you put on the date for it? Because
so every week, you know, I would give feed. You at a minimum, you've set up a communication plan where you're going to be talking once a week, at a minimum. And so in that weekly conversation, you're going to update showing feedback or lack of showings or lots of showings, no offers. You're going to share let me say this, if the seller is reasonable and is priced at market and it's still not selling, does that ever happen? Like, doggone it, why isn't this thing selling? You know, it looks good, smells good, priced right. On my marketing plan, my 18-point total exposure plan or whatever, I don't necessarily implement everything the first week. Because you want to have something in your weekly, if the home is not moving and it's not a price issue, you need to have something to share every week that you're going to do to generate more interest or exposure for the home. And so keep some of these things in your pocket. You know, we went on the market with 32 professionally shot HDR digital photographs, but you know what? I'm going to have the photographer come back out and shoot a what? You know, Matterport. A video, a Matterport. We'll bring in the helicopter now, you know, whatever it is. Keep stuff in your pocket that you just every week share with them. You're not just letting the sign in the yard sit. You're doing something every week to provoke additional interest. Okay?
The other one is you could say some sellers in the market today are making some concessions to help the buyers, like a buy down. So you can keep the higher market price.
Yep.
And you offer something to help the buyer get in there. And that way you still sold your house for 340. You netted a little bit less, but psychologically you sold it for what you wanted, the 340, and you helped the buyer buy it with today's interest rates.
With unreasonable seller, then how long will you keep it listed?
So until it stops serving me, right? Because you're always looking for the win-win. Having a listing is generally good for your business, right? It's a sign of success that a seller trusted you, and you can leverage that and put it all over social media. You know, I'm a successful listing agent. It will generate buyer leads that you might be able to flip them over and sell them another house. You can host open houses there and maybe pick up additional listings or buyers. It's a win for the seller because you're doing exactly what they said they wanted you to do. But there will come a point when if it doesn't serve them any longer, it doesn't serve you. right? Now it's hurting your reputation, right? You have a listing that's got cobwebs on it, the fire ants have built up a dirt tower around the base. I mean, just there comes a point where it doesn't serve you any longer. And at that point, I'd go back to them and look, and I say, hey, my job is not to list houses. My job is to sell houses. And I have literally done everything possible to sell your house. The only thing I can't control is the price. And if you're really needing 340 and I can't get it for you, I'm going to suggest that you give another agent an opportunity to try to sell your house. That's the best thing I can do for you. And if you need a referral or recommendation, I've got 2 or 3 I can refer to you. It is typically the second or third agent who gets the price reduction.
So my sister here in the Woodlands, she and her husband wanted to sell their home, I think, for about 75,000 more than the rest of it.
Yes.
And their agent who had sold them the home in the first place, this was like 6 years later, right? He came in and basically was like, I think that this home, they wanted to go for like 425,000, and they had originally bought it, whatever. I think the market in the neighborhood was 350.
Okay.
And so I think he kind of told them, I think you you kind of be nuts to even go there.
Yes.
And I wouldn't go anywhere beyond 370.
Yes.
And well, then they said, all right. So they brought in another agent, and she said, okay, I would resurface the pool. You need to fix this in the master bath. The master bath kind of had uneven counters.
Yes.
She said, you need to fix that. She's like, you need to put a silver rimmed mirror,
Yep.
silver frame mirror in there. We're going to keep the barn door that was custom.
Yes.
We need to get the carpets cleaned, and we're going to have it staged. And we need to get a storage unit, and all this stuff needs to be out.
Yes.
And so she gave him a punch list, and she goes, I would not list this for less than 425. If you want me to be your agent, give me a call.
425, having done all these
Yes.
adjustments.
With a punch list.
Yes.
Trina? Did Trina say that? That sounds like Trina.
And so she gave boom, 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 and that's what they wanted. They wanted the 425,
Yes.
and she said, and she basically was like, I'm not gonna list your home unless it is listed.
Yes.
And then that's what they did, and that's what they got.
Okay. So you know what that tells me about that agent? She was a neighborhood expert. She knew what the community standard was, and the recommendations that she made may have gone beyond community standard if they were able to get beyond what the comp said the home would sell for.
They sold it to an investor.
Okay.
And she said it took them a couple months to get the punch list
Yes.
finished, and then it sold within 3 years.
Yes. Yeah. I suspect she went beyond community standard. And when you do that, you don't always get full value because it's not reflective of what people in that neighborhood are typically willing to pay for. But there are exceptions. The Woodlands is an exceptional market. In good times and bad, we see appreciation, and people may overpay now, knowing that if they're going to live there 6 years, within 2 years, they will have made back their overpayment. So stuff like that happens, and that's why you never want to just dictate, it's 300 to the highway,
Or, I think it depends on if the seller's willing to do that work.
Yeah.
If the seller's like, you know what, I'm not gonna resurface the pool, and I don't wanna do all the painting.
Yes.
All the painting touch-ups, like all those things, I'm not gonna have the bathroom counter. So my brother-in-law is the one that did all the work.
Yes.
Except for the pool stuff.
So that's where, as the professional, you clarify their options. We can go on the market as is. At this price. We can go on the market with these improvements at this price, or we can just turn this into a show place. It's going to cost you this, probably take a couple of months, but we can probably get this. That's your job, is to clarify options and consequences, and then let them choose. And she did a good job of that. All right. So once you agree on price, sign the listing contract documents. That's why I would have sent them the listing agreement in advance. Assist the seller in completing the disclosures. Don't write it for them, right? Don't tell them what boxes to check. You're there to clarify if they don't understand what a particular question means, and to make sure that they complete everything, because it's easy to skip portions of the seller's disclosure inadvertently. Get a copy of the survey if they have one, an affidavit if they do provide you with a survey. Obviously, you're not a notary and can't notarize your own documents, but you can go ahead and give them a copy of the affidavit and then call Miriam. She'll notarize it for you, or Robin.
So if you are a notary, you can't notarize it for them?
No, you cannot, because you're a party to you're not a disinterested party, right? So.
But once you give them the form, they go to the bank.
Their bank, their insurance agent, yes, yeah. Okay, get copies of past inspection reports if available. And if it's a TAR disclosure and it's within the last 4 years these inspections have been done, then the seller is required to provide copies of them. Be very careful if you're using a TAR disclosure, which I don't recommend, but if you are for whatever reason, and there have been inspections within the last 4 years and they don't have copies, perhaps a seller had an inspection done and then decided to bust out and move on, but they didn't want to, hey, I paid $500 for this inspection, I'm not going to give it to the seller for free. The seller actually can put themselves in jeopardy by using the TAR disclosure, acknowledging that there was an inspection, but they're unable to perform according to the disclosure and provide a copy. So consider the TREC disclosure as meeting the minimum requirements of the property code, but not creating unnecessary liability for your sellers. Make sense? Okay, so let's talk about next steps. This is what you're saying. We've already got everything signed, got the survey, you helped them fill out disclosures. Let's talk about next steps. And you're going to make notes and enter dates as possible. Discuss staying safe when selling your home. That's a little document that I use and provide to them. Go through that. And it has things on like that. Well, first of all, put away your prescription medications, lock them away prior to any showings or open houses. Firearms, crossbows, all that needs to be secured.
Or is that a document you created?
This is one I created.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm liberally stole from everybody else, but yes, I put my own together. Okay, but you're going to assure them, every time there's an open house, if I'm hosting it, I'm going to be walking the home afterwards, making sure there were no windows left unlocked or back doors open or anything of that nature. Discuss the importance and costs of a seller's coverage home warranty, which I'm not a big fan of home warranties, but I do like seller's coverage. It's inexpensive and can really help matters if there's a negotiation over repairs that might be covered. You may want to offer to cover that cost yourself. And I haven't been in the listing game for a while. Anybody know what those cost now? Probably a
580, 585.
Well, you're talking about a buyer's home warranty. I'm talking about seller coverage, which I believe is going to be less than $100. So it's exactly what a buyer's policy is. The buyer gets a policy, covers the home typically for 12 months after closing. Well, the seller's coverage provides the same coverage to the seller during the listing period. And the expectation of the home warranty company is that the buyer will be purchasing, or the seller will be purchasing for the buyer, a buyer's home warranty from them. That's why they discount this really significantly, but it's not required. It's not required. But that way, if the hot water heater goes out, there's an HVAC repair during the listing period, the seller has coverage for it. Okay. Talk to your preferred home warranty company and ask them about their seller's policy. It's very inexpensive.
I won the listing by offer this, because that listing was in the area where the seller need to compete with the new builder.
Yes.
New build home.
Yes.
And the way I can win it because the new build home provide a home warranty.
Yes. So you're probably talking about a buyer's home warranty coverage,
Yes.
that you're going to offer that to compete with the builder. But what we're describing here is a policy that provides coverage before the closing.
I offer them.
You offer both. Okay. So you're all over it. All right. Discuss. Here's another document, preparing your home to be photographed. That's another document that I drafted. Put away the road spray, right? I mean, you've seen it all, haven't you? I mean, you've seen it in the pictures. It's unbelievable. And I've had photographers who always brought an assistant with them, and the assistant would go in and clear all the countertops and do all of that. But honestly, that creates liability that you don't want to be responsible for. Give your seller a list of the things that they need to do. And if you have to sum it up, my summary to them is think model home. When's the last time you went into a builder's model home? That's what you need to make happen in your home. But we live here. Yes, but you're not going to live here for long, right? You're going to move. So start packing now. It never offends buyers to see a garage full of boxes. It does offend them to see the home in disarray. So go ahead and start packing. Clean off your countertops. There should be nothing on your countertop. You know, they don't want to look at your dirty toothbrush. They don't want to look at a bar of soap that's halfway through. Now, you still need to brush your teeth. You still need to wash your hands. What are we going to do? Put it under the sink. Clear those countertops. You know, and I know you love your toaster and your blender and your mixer, and they almost match. That's right. Got the almond and the lime green. Put them under the.
Is it taking a picture of each room of a model home?
Yes.
And then showing them, look at this kitchen.
Yes. Yes.
This is your kitchen.
Yes. Yes. And if there's model homes in the area, I'll say, hey, take a drive, go look at the models. That's what we're trying to recreate here. And I realize it's not a perfect world. We can't match it perfectly. We want to get as close as possible to that. So start packing. You want to thin the herd in the closets too, right? It's summertime. You don't need your sweaters in there. You don't need your coats in there. Go ahead and pack them. Get all that out of there. They want to open a closet and maybe see a few shirts and a pair of pants hanging in there. They don't want the thing jammed to the walls. That's how most of us live. So start packing. That's the point. Get it all in the garage. Decide on a listing activation date. And I did put a note in here that's been proven. Thursdays have been statistically proven to be the best day to activate a new listing. Yep. So you want it to go on the market. That's when both realtors and buyers are searching for weekend showings. And if you can create a little weekend frenzy, you're more likely to sell the home quicker and for a higher price. So avoid going on the market on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that type of thing. Thursday is your ideal. And just the fact that you know this and you tell them this positions you as a knowledgeable professional. Decide on the time or day for your weekly update phone call. This is presuming that they don't want something more frequently. But even if they say, no, I want feedback as soon as you get it. Great. Let's still schedule a Tuesday 10 a.m. call each week. I like to just check in with you. Even if there's nothing to report, at least I'll be able to share with you what I'm doing as my new marketing initiative for the week to get additional exposure for your home. Explain that it's very likely you'll be inundated with lowball offers from investors and speculators. This is particularly true if your home is, in the mid-range to lower range prices. Explain that that's going to happen. If you don't explain that, they're going to hate you, right?
Oh, yeah.
What? My home's worth $300. You told me that. Why are you bringing me an offer for $175? Well, I'm legally obligated to present all offers, right? You need a better answer than that. And the better answer is, well, here goes. Ask the seller to give you a price below which they do not want to receive those offers. Enter the amount, it's on the profile, homeowner and property profile, and have them sign to indicate their authorization for you to reject all offers below that price. Problemo solved. Okay.
Is that homeowner and property profile also Frank Greenhouse?
It is. I'll share. Yes. And what I'm going to post them all in Workplace today, and I'll give you a quick preview before we're done here. Is it? It's not really 11:45, is it?
It is.
Okay. I'll have you out of here in 15 minutes. Okay. So just hang in here with me. Provide a blank copy of the 1 to 4 family residential contract. Have them read at their convenience and ask questions so they understand the terms that will be negotiated when they receive an offer. I can't stress how important this is. You don't want to get your first offer and then you're trying to educate them on the terms of the offer and how they relate to the contract. It's what, 10 pages long, right? So make sure that you've given them an opportunity to read and ask questions in advance. Explain to the sellers that you've built your business on referrals from past and current clients. Ask them if they're aware of anyone else with current or upcoming real estate needs that you might be able to help them with. And I would add here, since I drafted this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm going to be asking you this question every week when I call you with our weekly update call. And the reason I'm going to ask you every week is that people who are in the process of selling a home, perhaps looking for another home, are highly tuned in to other people going through the same process. And I would like to help them. That's what I do. I'm a helper. This is what I've been trained to help people with. So if you could just help me identify these people who need my help during this time when you're highly sensitive to others going through the same situation, I would really appreciate it. If you don't have room measurements, take them now. Get the sellers involved in helping you. You know, grab the other end of the tape. How many of y'all use an old-fashioned tape measure anymore? Yeah? Yeah? Well, there are times, it's about the only way. There are times when you need a laser too, right? Especially those ceiling heights and stuff like that. But yeah, there are also times when you can't get to the wall. So carry both, the laser and the tape measure, okay? My recommendation, place a Supra on the front door and a combo on the handle of the back gate. Not everybody who calls to show your house will have Supra access. It could be a College Station agent, a San Antonio agent, a Dallas agent. They don't have, their Supra doesn't work down here. Okay, it's MLS specific. So make sure you have a backup plan, or perhaps in the course of the listing, a tradesperson needs access to the home who doesn't have Supra. You could drive across town and open it up for them, or with seller permission, give them access to the mechanical lockbox. So I recommend using both. Install the sign and bring the family out for photographs. You probably already talked about this in your marketing plan. You're going to take photos of the family. Kids and dogs are a plus, and I mean that seriously. If they've got kids, they got pets, get them in the picture. Makes everybody more relaxed and happy, okay? Now, you're going to take a picture of it with you're going to set the sign, and you tell them this. Y'all give me just a few minutes. I'm going to go out in the front yard and set the sign. Then I'm going to bring you out for photographs. That gives them time to, get their makeup and their hair did. Okay. And they come out. You're going to take a series of photographs. You're going to take a coming soon. You're going to begin to market that immediately. You want to have the coming soon because you're not on the market yet, right? You haven't even had photographs yet. So do the coming soon. Then you take that off and you take a picture of just the sign that's for sale now. And then you're going to put the sold writer on there. And this is when you want the family gathering. You want the family, the dog, the neighbor's kids, everybody. And you're going to take a series of photographs with the sold writer. One is just them being happy. Then you want a picture of them being goofy and the kids jumping in the air and everybody celebrating. You want that picture. And what you want to explain is, when I actually sell your house, things are going to be nuts. Right? The transferring spouse may already be in Seattle and you're going to be packing, and you'd be quite irritated if I say, hey, can I come over and take the family's photograph? No, I haven't even washed my hair in a week. Don't you even think about it, right? So let's go ahead and get our photographs now, and then I'll just use them. I'll have them on file to use at the appropriate time. And then you can blast out social media without any delay or difficulty in getting the photographs, okay? Then tell your sellers to start packing, right? Start packing, because we've listed it at market value. I'm going to market it and make sure every potential buyer sees it and sees it presented beautifully. Start putting that stuff in the garage, okay? There we go. That is the kitchen table conversation. Any questions about that?
This picture with the signs.
Yes.
That's all.
Really?
Yes, I never heard of it.
Well, Si, I'm glad you're here today.
Yeah,
So,
My-
but it's not, I know for the MLS, we're not allowed to put any pictures with our signage in it.
Correct.
So you use those pictures for.
In my personal marketing. Yeah, in my social media posts, and frankly, in my personal brochure, I'm gonna have a whole page of photographs of these families with their name, and it might say the Wilson family, Spring, Texas, and a small quote. You know,
Oh,
that,
so you thinking forward.
oh, yes, always.
Oh, that's awesome. You see, I happen to send the pictures, like my Google reviews, I use them in my brochure.
Social proof, that's what people care about these days. Do people like me, that people like me used your services and been happy about it? So I'll tell you yes, Diane? Yes, my marketing. Yeah, and I guess if you're a lawyer, you might even want to get a release to use their photographs. I never did that, but yes, I got their permission orally to do that. I'll tell you the one I remember. I don't remember every nice thing everybody said about me. It's not like there's too many, but I forget over time. But I remember one of them I put in my personal brochure is that these sellers told me that they named their pool cleaner after me. You know, the little robot that drives around? Yeah, that's Frank out there cleaning the pool. What in the world? And they said, Frank, you're always working and you clean up everybody else's messes.
Whoa, that's.
I thought, I'll take that. Frank the pool robot. So, okay. But yeah, I put that in my personal brochure, you know. Yeah. And we took the picture by the pool. So I had them out there. So, okay, let me just very quickly show you some of these other documents that I'll be posting. The homeowner and property profile. Is it still opening? I'm going to put them in Workplace. Do you know what that is? Yes. Okay. Yeah, they're going to be there.
You can't download them from the document.
You can't.
You can. I mean, you can.
Okay, there we go. Open. It's tried. Wow, I don't know what that's about. Let me just assure you, I'll post them.
Oh, there you go.
But let me, okay, well, that's the old, there it is, okay. And these, I'm posting them as Word docs, not PDFs. So they're completely customizable. Don't just print this off. It's ugly like this. It's designed for you to put your logo on there, your photograph, your slogan, whatever it is. Okay, I've left it very plain Jane for you. But there's the questions it asks: property improvements, neighborhood improvements, improvements needed, seller's estimate of value, trash pickup days, yard maintenance day. You want to know that to schedule the photographer. The direction the home faces, you want to know that for photographer. You don't want the front of the house shaded when the photographer shows up. Preferred photography date and time, primary contact for showing approval, special instructions for pets. These are things you don't want to have to call back 3 different times and ask. Get it all at once. Alarm code and location, gate code, location of Supra serial number, combo location and code, what type of showing it is, what showing status, showing restrictions, showing instructions, room dimensions, and then listing agent is instructed to reject all offers below blank. Okay, so that's the profile. Would you agree that might be helpful to you?
Seriously.
It'll remind you to ask these things that you know eventually you're going to have to ask. So just get it at once. So we're opening up, I think, the prepping your home to sell. Yep, I'm sorry, to be photographed. So inside the home, declutter, depersonalize, remove seasonal holiday directions, decorations. And the reason for that is the home may be beautifully decorated in December. You're like, wow, we got the poinsettias and everything. But what about January? Then all of a sudden, it's a liability. So be aware of that. Dust and vacuum, make the beds, fluff the pillows, clean the kitchen sink. You shouldn't have to say this, but yes. Clear the kitchen countertops, bathroom countertops, remove shampoos, conditioners, body washes from the shower. But we shower and we got to wash our hair. Get it out from underneath the sink every time. A buyer doesn't want to open that up and see your bottle of half-used Prel. I'm sorry, they don't. They have a little fantasy. They're telling themselves that they're going to be the first ones living in this home, okay? And it doesn't have your grime and dirt out of the last 30 years. So do everything you can to reinforce that fantasy. Yes, Janet.
One of my pet peeves when I go into a house, and it just drives me crazy, is to go into the house and yet there's different color light bulbs all throughout the house.
Yes.
Like there's some
like
yellow,
a warm blue and then
yeah,
yes, yeah.
yeah, there's like some
Yes.
yellow, some daylight.
That would be a good one.
Some
Yes.
LEDs.
Yes. Make it all the same, okay? Whatever it is. Put out the guest towels, hide the others, hide all the trash cans, remove all magnets and decorations from the fridge. If there's pets, this is not every day, but for showings and for photography, hide all the food and water bowls, the pet beds, the pet toys, hide them, right? People don't want to imagine your dog booty scooting across the carpet, okay? So don't give them any hint that that could have ever happened, okay? If you have a dog, you know what I mean.
It's the most pleasant sight.
Right. Put all toilet seats and lids down. Replace your burnout light bulbs. Make them the same tone. Consider decorating the tables with your prettiest place settings. Yes.
So how do you communicate to people if their house smells of animal or pet?
So they probably know it at some level, but what I would say is a lot of potential buyers are going to be extremely sensitive to pet odors or allergic to pet dander. So at a minimum, and if you know it smells bad, what I would suggest is we have the home professionally and the furnishings professionally cleaned. And then you can go on Amazon and order these pet blankets, which will cover the furniture that the dog sits on or the cat. And prior to each showing, we'll fold those up and hide them in a box in the garage. But that way, otherwise you've got pet hair on everything all the time. But if it's bad, the smell is there, you need to get what I call the destinkifier. And this is, it's an official name is an deionizer.
Ozone generator.
Ozone generator.
That one.
And you can't run it while there's pets or people in the house. It's dangerous. But if they can leave the house for the night, if they're going away for the weekend.
Wouldn't de-stink the people and the dog? Just let them in?
Yeah.
No, it'll kill them.
So, and by the way, I, like Kevin, I own a destinkifier. So if the house, my wife insisted on it when we got married. I don't know why. So if the home has had fire damage or pets or there's smokers, then you definitely, they are miracle workers. It's chemistry, I think, how
Where
they.
do you get it, or how?
Well, you come, I keep it over here in the office for agents to borrow. So just come ask me.
I used Frank's because when the tenants left my house, they smoked in the house. They weren't supposed to. It took over a week of running it
Yeah.
every night because I would go in during the day. So every night it would run for at least a week. And yes, it did help.
Yeah.
I had to do the upstairs. I had to do a room that was more potent than the others and just moved it around, but it worked.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
So with our Airbnb, every guest we've had so far, we've only been open like 3 weeks, they all have at least one dog. And you can tell when they move out, even after 3 days, smells like a dog. So we're using it in there as well.
How much
So
of an investment is that type of thing? How much is it?
a destinkifier, oh, they're less than $100. Yeah. So yeah, I would, if I was actively listing homes, I would, I'd have your own.
You get it from Amazon?
Yeah, they're the size of a toaster. They're not very big. Yeah.
Ozone generator.
Outside the home, have the lawn trimmed, leaves raked. This is what you're telling them to do to prep for photographs. And this would also apply to showings. Clean up after the animals. Put away garbage cans, hoses, toys, bikes. Hide any cute yard decorations. We don't need the gnomes. If there's a pool, hot tub, or spa, take any security gate down, uncover, and clean. If there are any twilight photos taken, replace any broken lighting on the home. Open the umbrellas and any patio sets. When in season, uncover the grills. Remove any seasonal directions. Consider adding splashes of brightly colored flowers to the landscape and in pots. And then right before the photographer arrives, turn on all the interior lights, every one of them. Turn off all ceiling fans. They don't show up well in photographs when they're spinning. Light fireplaces and candles, open all blinds, shades, and curtains, clean all cars and vehicles, clear them from the driveway and the street in front of the house so that they're not blocking the photograph. Secure any potentially aggressive animals in a safe location, meaning take them away. And then remove all valuables, firearms, and prescription meds to a secure location. Okay? So these are just things that you can't remember all of that. None of us can. So you want to give it to them in writing. And the last thing I'm going to share with you, I mentioned when I started that this is the piece of the whole. This is the whole. The WHOLE, the seller task list. And I just tried to think through what is every single thing. They must have got their permit earlier than expected.
That's the 12 o'clock crew.
Is that what it is? Okay. So I'm waiting to see if this opens. It did?
They know we're up here, right?
They don't care. No, they're doing their own thing. Okay, well, watch for it. I'll post it. The seller task list is this.